Hi, welcome to a new video dedicated to a new mini camera. This is the Mobius Mini. So after the Mobius one, there in two version, original version with lens A and after the lens C with a wider field of view. Recently they have been introduced also the Mobius 2, able to film in 1080p at 60 frames per second like the Renken HD2. And today will be the Mobius Mini. Is nothing else than the kind of Mobius 2 Mini, so you will have the same characteristic, able to film in 1080p at 60 frames per second, but the main characteristic, as you will see, the weight are less than 27 grams. So let's discover the content of this nice box, white box. Okay, as you can see, the Mobius Mini come with in this white box with some magnet to close and lock. So when you open it, you will have this piece of foam protecting the camera, and look that how tiny is it. Okay, be aware, it's very compact. Okay, so you will find the same ingredient, the same type of button than the former Mobius. So you will have the camera here and a box with all the accessories. So let's have a look to them. First of all, when you open it, you will find an USB charging cable in mini USB format ending with USB, so the same type of connectors than the former Mobius, as you can see, no problem. So you can use the same type of cable. In the same bag you will find the cable for AV out, so 3 servo plug with only 2 wires connected on each of them. This is USB here to connect to your Mobius Mini. Here it's the external power source, so the black is the ground and the red is a plus 5 volt if you want to power your Mobius Mini with an external source. Why not coming from the back from your flying machine? Here is the cable for retrieve the sound. The white is a sound, and finally I would say the more important, this one is the ground with the video signal. So if you already have Mobius one, you can take this cable from the accessories. If you need, for example, to plug to your favorite FPV monitors, you will be able to retrieve the AV signal. We'll make some tests in few instants. What is coming with, you will have this battery strap, okay, a velcro to tape on your both on your camera as well on your favorite flying machine. This is a metallic support to fix on your tripod, okay, helmet or something like this. And for example, just this element weighs had the total weight of close to 4 grams, okay. And you will find also a spare lens hat, okay. So the lens hat standalone is 0.05 grams. So let's check a little bit the characteristics. So without the lens hat, and I will even remove the micro SD card, I will explain. There is no micro SD card in the original packaging, but this Mobius camera now weighs 27 grams exactly. That's great. Okay, so about the micro SD card, you need absolutely a class 10 at least if you want to record in 1080p in 60 frames per second. If you insert a lower class, you will see that in practice you won't be able to select the 60 frames per second. You will return to the original 30 frames per second. Okay, it's normal. It's a sign that you don't have a very fast micro SD card. So very basic accessories, and let's compare, for example, with the original Mobius one. With the this later was weighing 45 grams, even less, more. So it's more than 12-13 grams saved. Okay, close to 20, even close to 20 saved by this new model. That's really great. And you can see that you have some metallic parts probably playing the role of heatsink to cool the main processor, okay, but maybe it would be possible to remove this metallic part to save some weight. In the first glance, as you can see, there is no possibility to remove the internal 300 mAh power LiPo. Okay, so not like the Runcam HD, this Mobius Mini don't allow a fast swap for a new fresh battery. It's definitively a drawback. I don't know. So with the 300 mAh power built-in battery, you can expect to record 15 minutes consecutively. Okay. For mine, the first time I tried to boot up, it was not working, so I was thinking to have a dead Mobius Mini camera. And if you look closely to the rear side, okay, you have two screws to remove the top canopy cover, and you have also two small holes. One of them exactly this left one, when you have the main power button on the right, is the LEDs indicating, for example, that you are currently filming, and this one is there is a small reset button, so you need a very thin screwdriver, something like this. So if the first time your Mobius Mini is not booting, please and press this reset button inside while powering. And after I did this operation, I was able to retrieve my Mobius Mini, and after the battery was able to recharge. Okay, so now I don't have any more problems. So in case, it could be useful to know this trick. All the characteristic about the processor. So this machine camera is able to film in 1080p 60 frames per second, but for example for the 720p you will be able to film up to 240 frames per second. That's great. Okay, but let's talk about the button. They are more or less the same, than the usage is the same. So the power button on the right side, okay, so briefly press to turn on, you have this flashing blue and red, then the yellow indicating that you're in video mode 1. To start recording, you have to press this button, okay, and it will flash as well here, here, and here. Okay, it depends of your settings you will apply in the camera software. To stop recording, you have pressed more time the shutter button. Okay, so now if you press the M like mode button, you will turn into a 720p recording. The lights become blue, and if you press recording, no problem, it will flash again, and stop recording like this to press again. If you press again, you will enter more into a photo mode. Okay, and if you press again, you will return in 1080p. Be aware, if you plug your heavy out cable, if you press first time, you will enter into a playback mode. Okay, I will show in a few instances. So it's good, for example, to replay some recorded file. To turn off the camera, you have to press the long press of the right button, and it will stop it. To recharge your LiPo, you need approximately more than 30 minutes. Okay, so no indication about the level status, etc. It's a drawback. So you need just this any mini USB cable to charge. You will have a green LEDs when it's charging. So now let's focus a little bit more about the have out capacity. So the big question is, this Mobius offer now lower latency to be compatible, for example, with FPV. So I will perform some tests with the AV out, and let's answer to this question. Okay, so I connect the AV out cable into the former Mobius one to be a plug-in SCA connection to my FPV monitors. Now I will be able to connect the Mobius Mini. Let's turn on the FPV monitors, okay, and to select the AV in input. So now if I'm turning on the Mobius camera, you will see in a couple of seconds that I've got a real time the display. Okay, so actually I am in the first video mode, so 60 frames per second 1080p, and the remaining time I can record as well at the level of the battery of the Mobius camera. That's a good point. So immediately you can see that the latency seems already not so bad. Let's measure it carefully. and I will start the chronometers. Okay, so you will see if you make a post, but I will also display some photos with some instantaneous pictures that if I recording, okay, let's start, you will see that approximately the latency is around 60 milliseconds, or between 60 and 70 milliseconds. Okay, so that's great. Let's see if the latency is increased while recording. On the OSD of the Mobius, you will see a time-lapse recording. Okay, so now it's recording, and I will check again, resume the time-lapse, and you will see no real increasement of the latency while it's recording. That's definitively a good point. So the latency is around maximum 70 milliseconds. So it's still better than the first Mobius edition, but 70 milliseconds is really upper bound to fly FPV in resting condition. So this camera is still okay to practice FPV for an AP machine flying relatively high without too much stress, but for FPV racing, I think 60-70 milliseconds it will be too much. Let's check in the other mode. So I will press the M button to select now the 720p resolution, and if you make a cloud up, okay, you will see again that the frame latency is not really decreased, still remaining to 60-70 milliseconds. Recording the same, no really a big improvement. Okay, it's not worse, so that's definitively a good point. So the latency test conclude that the average latency is around 60 to 70 milliseconds. I want now to perform a small test. I don't know if it will be very efficient, but to see if the Mobius Mini is a little bit more shielded in terms of radio frequency. You know, the first Mobius can emit some RF signal that could perturb the GPS, okay, or some 2.4 gigahertz source. Let's check a little bit this point. Okay, so I will use this RF module, the RF Explorer. This is the combo with analyzing as well the 2.4 gigahertz band and lower as well the 6 gigahertz. So actually activate the 2.4 gigahertz band and can go lower, close to 1.5 gigahertz, to see if the GPS is affected. Actually, I've got some Wi-Fi device around, so it's normal that I collect some peak, okay, around actually minus 69 dBm. So I will first turn on the Mobius Mini. Okay, and to check if I've got some modification. Actually seems not. Okay, let's span a little bit the other frequency. Okay, so I go to a lower one. Let's try to see around 1 gigahertz, 1.4 gigahertz, close to the GPS band, and actually is like this. And I will turn off the Mobius Mini to see some, if there are some modification. Not so much. Let's turn it on again. No real modification. I will turn on recording. So actually the RF signal seems relatively not affected by the Mobius Mini. I will check now in other band and return to close to 2.4 gigahertz band. Okay. Okay, so I'm around between 2.1 and 2.7 megahertz. So let's turn off the Mobius Mini. No big modification, but maybe I can be blind by the other Wi-Fi source around. So the peak at minus 68 is very important, so I'm probably blind. I cannot really see the nose level with such amount, But anyway, if there was a big peak on the Mobius Mini, I could barely see it right now. Not really the case. I will turn on the recording. Okay, maybe I saw some small modification around, but not so important. So the conclusion is not pretty clear, but it seems that the Mobius Mini is not really affecting any other source, at least in 2.4 and 1.5 GHz band. Okay, that's more or less to be good news, but I should do this test without any Wi-Fi device around. Unfortunately, I cannot control my neighbors, but okay, it's encouraging. And you know, the problem of the Mobius one could perturb the GPS stabilization for big IP platform is probably now solved with this Mobius Mini. Now let's discover a little bit more the software associated with the Mobius Mini. In fact, it's the same, the common one between all the Mobius 1, Mobius 2 and the Mobius Mini, so it's more or less the same that software. Let's check it a bit. Hi, welcome to the software part of the Mobius Mini analysis, and as you can see, the software is exactly the same than the former Mobius 1 and 2. So the first thing to do is to connect through the mini USB port your Mobius Mini, and after a couple of seconds you should see the device USB port opening. Okay, not like the former Mobius one, where you can directly access to all the settings. You have another step to do to proceed. You have to press on the shutter button to activate the setting modification. And when it's done, you have to select, for example, the first one, and you can see that actually my actual firmware version is the 0.458, so the last one, because it don't offer me to update the firmware. So let's make a short tour of all the settings. I already modified some, but it's more or less the default one. So you can, for example, synchronize the date with the date. Okay, to display on the rear side the small red LEDs, the recording indication could be very useful sometimes according to the position or location of your Mobius Mini on your flying machine. By default, the image timestamp is turned on. Okay, so both the date and the time are turning off. You can of course rotate image. Okay, so it's up to you, and you have the light frequency handling, so set to between 50 Hz or 60 Hz depending what area you are living. If you are filming more indoors, you can be affected by the frequency of the current actually. So by default, the TV out is more set on NTC, turning on pale, and the date format more for the American. So it was years first, if I'm months and day. Okay, if I'm not wrong, I turn it more in day, months, years. The power standby is the default setting. So after 30 seconds, you have the auto record external power, okay, actually turned off, and the OSD information actually set for English. So all these mode settings have to be done by pressing the set parameters. So let's have a look more on the video mode. So here you can select, for example, the two video modes associated, mode 1 and mode 2. So for all of them, you have some common things. For example, you are recording the sound. Motion detect is turned off by default. If that's a novelty, I'm not sure it was present in Mobius 1, but you have a kind of image stabilizer. I don't know if it's a full electronic image stabilization, but actually it's turned off. Loop recording also turned off, so if you want to completely record a common scene, okay, over 24 hours, you can make a loop, okay, on your micro SD card. Use an external microphone, is disabled, and actually the video OSD is turned on. It for the AV out, okay, as we saw for the latency test. The actual format is record in MP4 and not MOV like the default Mobius one, if I'm not wrong. And the field of view is set to wide, is a little bit more than 110 degrees, if I'm not wrong. For the video mode, you have some different resolutions, so a little bit more than 1080p. It's 1440p, okay, and you have the 1080p resolution by default selected as well, 720p and even lower, okay. For the 1080p, if you have a class 10 microSD card, you can select the 60 frame. In fact, even if you don't have, you can select, but when you will press set for parameters, reboot your Mobius, you will see that the if you don't have a class 10 and more, the setting will return to 30 frames per second. So you can select 60, 50, 48, 30, 25 and 24. For the second video mode, okay, when it's associated with the blue light, you can also select if you want a little bit more larger resolution than 1080p, 1440p, 1080p again. By default it's set to 720p, and here you can select up to 120 frames per second, okay, and if you were in WVGA, a little bit more than VGA, you will be able to select close to 240 frames per second, so it's good to perform some time-lapse with the Mobius Mini. The video quality is by default set to fine, and you have a super fine resolution. Video clips length, it's breaking your video file in different segments, so it's better to set to max, okay. You will have one unique file, but be aware if you crash it, etc., at least with the video clip length you can have the first part of your movie by default, okay. The photo mode is more or less the same, the maximum resolution, quality of your photos, time-lapse, okay, and time-lapse duration, so that's good, and the photo bursts and shutter delay, and if you want to see also the OSD. Well, the more advanced image setting is more associated with the image calibration, so you can tune the sharpness of your image, actually set to normal, exposure, saturation and white balance. So actually the white balance it's set to autos, okay, so you can wide dynamic range, but you can personalize it to daylight, cloudy, tungsten and fluorescent. A good option if you want is to when you turn on the Mobius, you can, by pressing the power button, if I'm not wrong, you can set the white balance on the what you are currently targeting. So if you are targeting more the ground, it will try to balance the white more on the scene, and if you are more targeting the sky, it will adapt more, focus more the white balancing on this area. So it's up to you. So if you want to engage or not, you have to enable or disable this option. So how is measure the exposure measurement? So it's a multi-spot, okay, and different points to compute the average white balancing. Okay, so now let's perform some little tests, okay, of the Mobius Mini, and let's compare how good is it. I have to say that since the last firmware version, it's much more stable, because the first firmware was known to be unstable and the camera was crashing a lot. So don't forget, if your camera is crashing, to to use a very small screwdriver to press the reset button localized behind. So always take with you a kind of very thin tip in case if you are in the field to restart your Mobius Mini camera. Okay, so now let's have a look to the performance of this camera. Okay, here is a small demo of the Mobius Mini in comparison with the RenCam HD 2. So I will compare, I hope in the same point of view. And today is on the left side is cloudy and on the right is sunny, so it will be perfect to measure the impact of the and the performances of this Boss camera. So I hope everything will hold. Okay, so let's go for a small flight.